I'd like to take a moment to extend my sincerest wish for successful Juneteenth celebrations this past weekend and tomorrow. June 19th is the actual date back in 1865 when in Galveston, Texas, it was announced that slavery was over. We've come a long way, but there's still a lot of work to be done in that arena. The following presentation is ceremonial only. The actual Troy City Council meeting of June 18, 2012 will begin after I retake the chair. Please let me introduce to you our Honorable Mayor for a Day, Adriana Colon. Adriana, if you'll join us at the podium, at the table.
My name is Adriana Collin, and I am your mayor for a day. I want to first read my essay. It starts out with the words, "Citizen participation in government is important because the people are the ones who use the government rules. We follow the rules, get privileges. Like my teacher says, the police never comes to his house because it doesn't need to, because he never is bad. We should get some privileges." I would like to welcome Pastor Dan Lewis, who will give the invocation, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in standing. Welcome, Pastor Dan Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we give thanks to you tonight because you give all good things. We commence this meeting with prayer because we understand clearly that our dependence is upon you. We ask for wisdom, we ask for guidance, and we ask for your blessing. And we pray this in the name of Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everyone. Please be seated. The June 18, 2012 meeting of the Troy City Council is now called to order.
Good job.
Adriana and her brother and family went for a tour through the City Hall last week, and they toured the police department as well. And her young brother Emiliano also said that he might like someday to be mayor. So I would encourage both of them to follow local government issues closely. Thank you very much. Let's see, we have, let me start the meeting. The June 18th, 2012 Troy City Council meeting is now called to order. Roll call, please, Mrs. Bittner.
Mayor Daniels?
Here.
Councilmember Campbell?
Here.
Councilmember Fleming?
Here.
Councilmember Henderson?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Here.
Councilmember Slater?
Here.
Councilmember Teets?
Here.
Quorum present. First on the agenda is a proclamation to the Friends of the Troy Public Library congratulating them for being recognized with the 2011 Baker and Taylor Awards and also being selected as the 2011 Outstanding Friends of the Library. And then we have a certificate of appreciation to Barnes & Noble Bookstore for hosting the Troy Public Library Reading Celebration and Book Fair. In the interest of time, I'll present the documents at the podium, and then I would encourage residents to visit www.troymi.gov to read a copy of them at your leisure. Is there anyone here to accept the proclamation?
Mayor, I'd like my board to come up because this was a big thing for all of us.
Well, then I'll read it to you. Thank you. Whereas the Friends of the Troy Public Library were founded in 1958 as a nonprofit organization to promote and support the Troy Public Library, and whereas the Friends of the Troy Public Library are one of the 3 Friends organizations nationwide that have been recognized with the 2011 Baker and Taylor Awards from the Association of Library Trustees, Advocates, Friends, and Foundations, a division of the American Library Association, for their outstanding efforts to support their library. And whereas the Friends of Michigan Libraries also selected the Friends of the Troy Public Public Library as the 2011 Outstanding Friends of the Library, Class 4-6, and whereas the Friends of the Troy Public Library were chosen for their efforts in carrying out an outstanding project or activity that had significant impact on their library's service to the community, and whereas the Friends won these two prestigious awards for the successful activities that the Friends carried out that saved the Troy Public Library from closing, and for working to ensure the continued operations of the library for the next 5 years. The awards were based on the scope of the group's activities and judged on planning, implementation, evaluation, innovation, and community involvement. And whereas the Friends understand the importance of well-funded libraries and advocate that our library has the support it needs to provide a wide variety of services for all ages, the Friends have generated resources for much-needed equipment, summer reading programs for children, job seekers classes, computer classes, special needs collection, cultural and book programs, and special events throughout the year. And whereas the Friends continue to promote and support the Troy Public Library's essential role as a valued community asset in Troy by fostering library initiatives through advocacy, volunteer assistance, and fundraising, now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council of the City of Troy hereby congratulate the Friends of the Troy Public Library for being recipients of the 2011 Baker and Taylor Award and the Friends of Michigan Library's 2011 Outstanding Friends of the Library Award, and thank them for their efforts to save the library and their continued work to keep the library a vibrant and active place in the heart of our community. And be it further resolved that the Mayor and City Council invite all Troy residents to recognize their awards and encourage everyone to support the Friends through membership, by shopping the Friends Shop and Bookshop, and attending the many wonderful library programs offered thanks to the Friends of the Troy Public Library, presented this 18th day of June, 2012. Thank you very much.
Friends of the Troy Public Library would just like to thank the City of Troy and all the citizens of Troy for knowing how important the library is to our community. Of course, we all believe that the library is important for literacy, education, informed citizenry, and it's the Friends' intention to continue to promote and support the library every day of the week. And we hope that you'll support us in doing so, and we'll keep a vibrant library in our community. And we thank you. We thank the citizens of Troy very much for that support. Thank you.
Is someone from Barnes & Noble here to accept this award?
Madam Mayor, I was expecting Denise Porter from Barnes & Noble, and I believe she had something come up. She's not here yet.
I see.
She'll accept.
Okay. Well,
She can accept.
Can I give it to you? We'll give it to her. Thank you very much. Fake check for $2,129.59. Right from the.
That's how much was raised. We partnered with Barnes & Noble for a fundraiser, and between us, $11,000 was earned. Barnes & Noble gave $2,129.59 to the library, and we are going to use it to buy ebooks because they are so popular. So thank you, Barnes & Noble, for partnering with us.
There are no carryover items or public hearings, so we'll proceed to public comments. As a reminder, I would like to restate that the audience be aware that all comments are to be directed to the council rather than to city administration or back to the audience. Also, there's a timer on the city council table in front of the mayor's chair that turns yellow when there's 1 minute of speaker time remaining and turns red when the speaker's time is up. In order to make this meeting more orderly and out of respect, please do not clap during the meeting. And please do not use expletives or make derogatory or disparaging comments about any one person or group. If you do so, there may be immediate consequences, including having the microphone turned off, being asked to leave the meeting, and/or the deletion of speaker comments for any rebroadcast of the meeting. Speakers should also be careful to avoid saying anything that would subject them to civil liability, such as slander or defamation. Please avoid these consequences and voluntarily assist us in maintaining the decorum befitting this great city. First person who signed up is Rusty Kaltonis. Good evening, Mr. Kaltonis.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, everyone here.
You're speaking up.
The larger microphone?
I'm here with my family, my granddaughters, my daughter Georgia, to invite all of you to the 19th annual San Nicolas Greek Orthodox Festival, also known as Opal Festival.
Move that microphone over.
The dates are June 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. It's a fun festival for the whole family with authentic Greek food and pastries. We have taverna, live music, cooking demonstration, traditional music, church tours, and a marketplace, also kid games. The church located at 760 Waddles, so everybody are invited. Also, I have here a tray of some pastries that the ladies cook for you guys for your break time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate that very much. Next, Jeff Williams. Mr. Williams? Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Jeff Williams, and I've been a Troy resident since 1985. Mayor, I'm here tonight to respond to the comments that you made as a guest on the Charlie Langton Morning Show on Talk Radio WXYT last Wednesday. Ironically, the day after the 9,300 signatures to recall Janice Daniels were delivered to the Oakland County Election Division, you found it necessary to hit the radio waves to defend yourself. After listening to your interview with your good friend Charlie Langton, I wonder, do you wish you could have a do-over? Well, perhaps you might have that chance. I'll save that subject for later. I would like to reference some of the comments that you made in regard to the recall document. Unfortunately, I believe, once again, your responses were intended to deceive and deflect from the truth. Point one, regarding Charlie's question regarding the meeting you held with the high school students where you declared that the homosexual lifestyle is dangerous, he asked you, why would you have that discussion? Your reply, you said it was the issue of the meeting. No, it was not. The subject of the meeting was to plan an anti-bullying event for the city, not to discuss the dangers of homosexual lifestyles of children. Point two, referring to the Troy City Council as a whimsical document, you said, quote, it's when you define whimsical as a subject to the whim of the majority of the people. Mayor, seriously, do you want us to believe that is what you meant? Or perhaps you meant the real definition being whimsical, capricious, fanciful, and unpredictable. It doesn't matter. The charter is not a whimsical document. Point three, regarding the recall effort, you stated, quote, I asked the people to reconsider the recall process. Then you state, quote, I have committed no crime. Mayor, once again, an attempt to deceive the public. You are not being charged with a crime. As an elected official, you know for a fact that the recall process is a lawful process that has nothing to do with criminal activity. You are not the victim. Finally, you mentioned several times during the interview with Charlie about how you, quote, come from a business perspective. I, too, come from a business perspective. Never in my 32 years in business do I ever recall, one, publicly attacking an associate during a business meeting in the abusive manner you did on January 9th to City Manager Zerlag and his staff. Two, as a business person, I was always taught to never criticize an idea unless I was prepared to provide a viable solution. Unfortunately, Mayor, you're great at criticism, but not with providing great solutions. Mayor, you have had the opportunity to really demonstrate your leadership skills during those weeks of discussion to finalize Troy's annual and three-year budget. Unfortunately, you sat at the table and did not contribute a single original thought or suggestion during the entire process. Instead, your only contribution was during the final vote, and we all know how that turned out. You call that leadership. Mayor Daniels, during the Charlie Langston interview, you practically begged the listeners to join you during your open office hours, or better yet, to come to a Troy City Council meeting to see the real Janice Daniels. Quote, "I love all people, Charlie," I believe was your statement. Well, Mayor Daniels, here's your chance. You said, and I want to make sure I get this right, you said, quote, "I'm a good mayor," and, quote, "I think I have the ability to be a great mayor." Mayor Daniels, you have the perfect forum here tonight in front of all of Troy to tell us why 9,300 of your constituents are wrong to ask for you to be recalled. If, in fact, you are the leader who you say you are, please take the podium during the reply to public comments and provide us with a specific list of what you have done in your last 7+ months as mayor to move this great city forward. And please be specific, unscripted, no pithy comments. You don't have to be edgy. We don't care about hearing about your small government ideologies. We don't care about Governor Scott Walker recall or Obamacare. What we want to know is about Mayor Janice Daniels' performance. What have you done specifically to help move our great city of Troy forward? Thank you.
Thank you. James Tokarski. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Troy City Council. I come before you tonight to express my support of the mayor and against the recall efforts that have been made against her ever since she was elected mayor. I am not a resident of Troy. However, I know that these type of issues have overflow effect into other communities. I own and operate a business, and a great deal of my business, probably over 50% of it, is in the city of Troy, and that's been over the last 16 years. The reason I disagree with the recall is the reason recall was called in the first place. My opinion is a recall is meant for misconduct in office. My opinion is the recall efforts have been made by the other side, both in Michigan against the governor and other elected officials, as well in Wisconsin, whether you like it or not, is a misuse of the law, and is something that in the future I'll be working with my representative in Lansing, Tom McMillan, to see if it can be strengthened. The only other thing that I've got to state at this time is for those who think they need to support this recall, who have started this recall effort, in the words of Rush Limbaugh, I hope you fail. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Graycheck, Ed Graycheck.
Good evening, Mayor Daniels.
Good evening.
And council. I too am in support of you, Mayor Daniels. This whole thing is a diversion. It does have to do with Scott Walker. You were elected as a conservative to fight big government, to fight the big spending here in Troy. I started coming to these council meetings because I was against this millage increase for the library. I felt you had enough money within the city of Troy to keep the library open and not have to raise the millage. Furthermore, if you didn't have the money, then you should cut spending, like the rest of us had to do. The rest of the people in the private sector, we don't have the opportunity to raise taxes. We have to take cuts. We have to live within our budget. So Troy should have lived within its budget. You know, I saw some trucks today, the Wayne County or Oakland County trucks. They look like maybe third-generation trucks. We always have the best trucks. They don't even buy ours, I guess, but we always have real nice trucks. And this guy that we gave a award to, the service manager, of course, we always have new trucks in Troy. So we do have a lot of spending in Troy that we should probably cut back on our spending. You were elected against big government. You were elected against to fight the train station, to fight the multimodal station, and you did. So we commend you for that. Also, you put up with all this. I can't believe you do put up with everything you do. And to have a son in the Marine Corps fighting in Afghanistan, I can't imagine what that is for you to put up with all this. Scott Walker was able to win his recall, and you'll be able to win this recall. This is a diversion with the unions, with the government unions. The public sector unions in this country are killing this country. They almost got General Motors, and if it weren't for Obama funding the unions back, they would have brought General Motors down too. And they may still happen. But the public sector unions in this country are killing this country. There's an article in the Detroit News a couple weeks ago about John Wojtowicz, I think it is, the city treasurer of Wayne County. All this stuff's going on. Look at what's going on in Wayne County. You got Tarika Mullins getting all this money behind our backs. That's why we elected you. We elected you to watch out for us. Watch out how the money's being spent. Tarika Mullins, and then this John Wojtowicz, he gets $500 and some million in 15 years as bonuses as a city treasurer because he's doing his job. He's supposed to collect taxes that are in arrears. And he's making $524 million as bonuses. And here our own city manager gets around $75,000 a year in pension, plus all his health benefits as a retired. So he comes back to Troy and starts working again for $150,000, $145,000 a year. That's what's wrong with this country. The city officials are taking advantage of what's going on, of the taxpayers in this country, the people that are paying for their livelihoods. I pay my own health care. He's getting health care on us. I called the city of Troy once to find out about his pension. And they said, and why he came back, why we brought him back at that kind of money. Well, they said he was a steal because we don't have to pay his benefits. Well, wait a minute, we are paying his benefits and his pension. So Mayor Daniels, I want to thank you for what you're doing, keeping up the good fight, and keep spending down. Thank you.
Thank you. John Holden. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Daniels, Council. John Holden, 2392 Barclay Avenue, Shelby Township, Michigan. Our website's W4AR.
Speak into the microphone a little.
Sure. Our website's W4AR.com. You go there for the smart meter issue. I have some DVDs. Can I pass them up for you, 2 each?
You can leave them on the table or give them to the county, the city clerk. I'm sorry.
As we traveled across the state to numerous cities and townships, we've been to over 30 cities. We've got 22 resolutions and moratoriums. We just got Oakland County last Monday, unanimous vote. They passed a resolution to opt out of smart meters without penalty. The DTE has put forward to the Michigan Public Service Commission a possible option to opt out that will cost you money up front and a monthly payment to get the old analog meter that you never asked for put on your house, to have it removed. This is why we're here, because so many people don't know about there is no cost benefit, the health impact, invasion of privacy, and the destruction of the Fourth Amendment. And what I want to talk to you about tonight, this is our first time here, we've been to many other cities, is the Consumer Protection Act. I don't even know if many of you even know about it. It's Public Act 331 of 1976. It says it is unfair, unconscionable, deceptive method, acts, or practices in the conduct of trade or commerce are unlawful and defined as follows. I do have 3 pages of the different things, but I'll just read 2 of them. Making false or misleading statements or fact concerning the reasons for, existence of, or amounts of price reductions. They claim it's free, and they use our grant money, our donations to install the smart meters, and now they want us to pay monthly fees and all that, even a monthly fee to take it off. J, now this is the part, they claim that the analog meter is the same as a smart meter, but J says, representing that a part, replacement, or repair service is needed when it's not. They claim that they have the right to come on your property. They have an easement to maintain and repair their equipment. The smart meter is a 2-way communication, 4 channels of data collection, to load limiting disconnect. It is not an analog meter. And lastly, representing to a party to whom goods or services are supplied that the goods or services are being supplied in response to requests made on or behalf of the party when they are not. You didn't ask for this. It's not mandatory. You can ask the MPSC. DTE is now admitting they're not mandatory. DTE is not admitting to the harmful effects of RF, even though on file 146 submitted to the Michigan Public Service Commission on page 59, it says that on attachment 3. However, there is scientific consensus for the possible harmful effects of RF. They don't want to admit to it. But we have the right to protect ourselves, stop the invasion into our home, destruction of the Fourth Amendment. Now we have this guy named General Petraeus, who's now the CIA director, and he says well, they're going to be able to spy on us through smart chipped appliances that are coming to home. All through all these cities, DTE has repeatedly deceived us. I won't say lied, deceived us. They play the politics of words. They say, I don't know about this. I have no knowledge of that. They know about the smart chipped appliances. They have a home area network. If you wanted those reduced rates, they're only going to save you minuscule. There is no cost benefit. You have to sign on to a home area network where they can monitor all the appliances in your home, how long they're doing it, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you will have no privacy. I wish I had more time, because there's a ton of information I could give you, that the only choice you have is to declare your freedom and keep your constitutional right, the Fourth Amendment, is to fight the smart meters with a resolution, a moratorium, or an ordinance. You have to start speaking up now before they take control. I've never known a corporation to be able to demand you take their product and pay for it over and over again eternally, and possibly let it, even though it harms you. Thank you.
Thank you. Pauline Holton? Good evening.
Hi, Mayor Daniels and Council. Usually I go up first when we go to these meetings, and I have all the information. As John said earlier, we've been to about 32 cities and townships talking to people about the smart meters. We've just been so involved with this, with the different cities and things. There's so many areas of concerns about this we need to discuss. The 2005 Energy Act, 2007 Energy Act talks about smart meters, and it says it's a pilot program. They're supposed to be asking us if we want this. There's no state or federal mandate. We don't have to have these meters. They shouldn't be in Troy. I know there's a lot of them here already. People understand that's going to change the way that you pay for your electricity. We're going to have different levels of periods that's going to cost us more. When you use your air conditioning or whatever, it's going to cost you more. And if you don't have a computer to go to find out if you can check that out, it's going to get you into this high area. And you say, what if a senior that can't afford these rates and run their electricity and get that bill? Is going to be high. I talked to people all over Michigan. Their bills are double and triple. We were in Hazel Park, and some of the council people already had the meters, and theirs went up. He was taking a chart. Regular meter, smart meter. So we will be paying a lot for these meters. It's going to be costly. DT said it's not going to cost us anything. We finally got them to admit when we were in Howell that it's not going to be cost effective, and it won't be. There'll be people going to have to decide if they're going to use their air conditioning, if they're going to have to pay their bills or what. We're going to have to make choices. I'm very concerned about the radio frequencies and the EMF. Most of the houses in Troy right now they all have 2 of them, and they got the 3 waters, and those produce a lot of EMF radio frequencies. I have a friend that lives in Troy right now. He's the only one in his neighborhood that doesn't have it, because he was able to, like us, talk with people about it, tag their meter, send his things in saying that he doesn't want it. He had the choice of saying no, but most of the people in Troy didn't have that choice, didn't have that luxury. That's where we have to go for them. We have to make choices for them to help them. But this particular person that lives in Troy, he's in the middle of all this. in the middle of all these radio frequencies that are coming from these meters, that are bouncing from house to house, that are going house to house. And they have 2 meters on them. Can you imagine all the frequencies that are going, 2 meters, that these meters are capable of going off every 5 minutes? And the radio frequency that's going to be going from house to house? Think about the children, the young children, how they will be suffering in different areas, in different ways. Let's go into privacy. I'm very concerned about the chipped appliances. Everything you buy is going to have a chip in it. And like I say, like I showed you the picture, a home area network, it's going to come in and control that. We still have a Fourth Amendment right of our Constitution, correct? We still need to be safe and secure in our homes. This meter will take that away. And I'm asking you tonight, please send something in. Do something for your citizens of Troy. Stop this. Make them have the choice to have the right to say if they want this on their house or not. To let them have the choice of it if they want it. Also, there's issues of fires. All over the country there's been fires. California has a lot. PG&E just settled a $100 million lawsuit. 85 homes burned down. 8 people died. Please, always vote for the citizens of Troy. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Morrison? Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Daniels and council members. I'm Nancy Morrison, and I am the Executive Director of the Troy Community Coalition for the Prevention of Drug and Alcohol Abuse. I'm here tonight regarding the K2 issue. And of course, the coalition has been on the forefront of this issue for quite a long time. You know, we knew that it was banned back in 2010, only to resurface again on us at come 2011. We started educating the public back in August of 2011 on this issue, and then we started hitting the retailers who were selling K2 in Troy back in January 2012. We definitely support the resolution that the city attorney has created, and of course we do a lot of other work behind the scenes that some people may not be aware of regarding this K2 issue, and of course other drug and alcohol issues as well. We have contacted our legislators and the DEA, Oakland County Health Department, and of course we have also worked with our city attorney on this issue. So it's important that the coalition continues our prevention efforts. We really work hard at reducing those risk factors that can harm our youth and our community members. 10 years ago, we were really working on club drugs back then, such as ecstasy and GHB, and now it is K2, spice, bath salt, so we don't know what it will be 10 years from now. But of course, it's important that the coalition continue, and one of the ways that you can do that is volunteer your time. Right now, I am looking for a grant writer to write some grants for us on a volunteer opportunity basis. And also we will be holding our celebrity night dinner, so I wanted to invite all of you, and of course put it on your calendars early. It's Thursday, October 25th at the San Marino Club in Troy. So that is our biggest fundraiser of the year to prevent substance abuse. We only have 2 employees with the Troy Coalition, so again, it's important that we get some new volunteers on board that can assist us in our prevention efforts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for all that you're doing for our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Peters? Good evening.
Evening, Mayor, Council. One who doesn't believe prohibition worked. I disagree, although I wouldn't tell my kids to do this stuff. I'd like to ask the mayor tonight just a couple of questions. She can answer if she wants or not. What's your view of the gay community lifestyle? And in your view, is the Q word ever appropriate? Second, on Syria, nobody supports the carnage over there, and we all will rally around the president. But I just wondered if maybe President Carter or Jesse Jackson might go over there and act as a mediator between the groups over there. And I'd also like to know, I know this goes on the media all the time, but you have to understand, they keep playing this over. But you know, Russia lost 20 million people in World War II, and even both Korea and China were both subjected to Japanese and, you know, that kind of aggression. And I would hope that the diplomats would always keep that in mind before they start, you know, bantering around all the time. Also, finally, on the arts and community, I think that this should be a tri-county thing. I mean, it'd be nice to see, you know, I mean, we have had Rembrandt, Van Gogh, Monet, Picasso, El Greco, I think Grandma Moses, if I remember correctly, that this could be a tri-county approach to the arts community. And on the EPA, I think that if we're not going to be a part of the United Nations in respect to global warming, you know, I feel that maybe the individual states, not only in Michigan, but across the ones, I wouldn't expect maybe Texas or Oklahoma or somewhere like that, oil states, but I do think some of the other states would probably could comply with the global standards, and I think that would help in maybe, because I'm a little concerned about glacial melting and whatnot, and I don't, you know, to me that keeps the rivers flowing, and then that keeps the fresh water on the planet. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. James Savage. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council. Okay. So, here we are again, and another contentious issue to keep our citizens divided. It seems that we never get free from contentious issues. A recall campaign. Anyone who supports the basic principles of democracy cannot seriously support this whimsical petition. One person, one vote. The person or issue with the most votes wins. When we vote for members of Congress, we hope that whether our candidate wins or loses, the winners, even with their vastly different views, will come together and govern for the benefit of the country and the citizens. But if we can't abide by the rules of democracy in Troy, how can we expect more from Washington? I hope the residents of Troy will separate the rhetoric from the facts. Last week, 2 local papers printed articles regarding the recall. The Gazette article was all personal opinions. There's almost a half a page of it. What he said and what she said and what was somebody's mind, not even figuring out what's in other people's minds, with no facts at all. The Troy Times, on the other hand, printed facts and figures, number of votes cast, number of signatures needed, etc. Times also printed details of the whimsical recall document. In the coming months, I intend to dismantle that document piece by piece. But I will not be discussing who the good guys or bad guys are. I will deal with the issues as I have always done in about the 15 years that I've been attending these meetings. So I will start with the cost of the transit center and who is paying for it. For over 3 years, I and former Councilman Havrach have asked for an honest accounting. The supporters of the transit center have proclaimed over and over that it will not cost Troy taxpayers anything. Former councils talked about transparency, but they only practiced it when it suited them. So I ask again, where did the money come from for the lobbyist fees, the legal fees, or a consultant fee, which right here, for 1 year? to one consultant for the transit center in 1 year, $38,142.50. Where did that money come from? For over 3 years, I have listened to excuses like designated funds. If these designated funds come from my taxes, I want to know. And I want this council to get the answers, because from former councillors, we just got the runaround and we got double talk. So I hope we can get some answers, because if we don't, I'm going to be here asking the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. David Benet. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Mayor Janice Daniels and council members. My name is David Benet, and I've been a resident here in Troy for about 20 years now. And I've had my share of volunteering for different things in the 90s when I was involved with Troy Days and the Troy JCs as a race director for a running race that took place in Troy Days. Had to scale back my volunteer activities to raise a family, which I'm still doing and enjoy very much. Anyway, I know that in recent times I still like to keep track of some of the things that are going on here in the city of Troy, and I'm a little bit upset with some of the things that are going on in terms of the recall that's taking place for Mayor Janice Daniels. I don't approve of this, and I just think it's a form of grandstanding, and I'll elaborate a little bit. But I know that about 2 to 3 years ago, many business owners were standing right here at this podium, maybe to some of you, maybe to some other council folks, and a prior mayor, and I guess there was a lot of them that were indicating that they had to scale back their own salaries and things to keep things alive and keep their own businesses running, and they just couldn't raise their prices because they would basically go out of business. So there were some changes, and certain millages weren't passed and so forth. We voted in a change that took place, and things seem to be subsiding and heading in the right direction, which I like to see that. So I think that when I spent my time in the corporate world, I saw a lot of grandstanding, and it was very professional grandstanding, and it was sometimes very slippery, but it happened. And I think with today's technology, I think that's what we're seeing right now. And I know a lot of people in the circles that I'm talking with, they don't like this, and they are going to fight this. They are not going to let this recall go through. It will not happen. So I just wanted to thank you, Mayor Janice Daniels, for doing your job. I know you must be putting up with a lot of stress, and I hope that you can endure and go forward. So thanks for your volunteering to do this job, and also for all of you council folks as well. Thank you for your time. I know it's a lot of work. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Roger Walters. Good evening.
Ms. Daniels, ladies and gentlemen, I'll make it brief tonight. Ms. Daniels, did Bob Higgins from the State of Michigan Board of Education give you a call at any point in time? He didn't. I read him off one of the letters that you had sent me back. You stated on here that I had to go to the State of Michigan to get the jurisdiction or whatever for the property behind my house on Boyd Street, which connects to IA. I did so. I sent them, the letter you sent me was directly from the city council. Does anybody remember this? I'm sure you guys do. It came from you guys. So you guys all have to know who it came from, because it definitely has John Sherlag, Mark Miller, Gary Mayer, Gary Shilnick, Steve Bagnett, and Bill Hudari. Your names are on this, and Ms. Daniels, the one you have here, you signed on the second page, and I talked to Mr. Higgins of the State Board of Education. He told me that was at the city level. It wasn't at the state level. You told me it was. When I read him off what you had wrote here and what you had wrote here, he said, no, you are wrong. You signed it, Janice Daniels. right on the bottom. It's your letterhead. It's your letterhead. It's your signature. Q. Ain't me. Isn't Mr. Fleming. Isn't Mr. Teeth. It's Janice Daniels. You sent this. You wrote it. You sent it.
That's a different letter than what you're referring to, sir.
No, this is one that you sent to me that you told me that the school was, the state of Michigan was responsible. I read him what you wrote to me here. You said which is separate, unity accountable to the state of Michigan. You said it directly right here on the same page right here. You said right here. This is jurisdiction of the state of Michigan. Mr. Higgins said, no, it is not. He wanted your phone number. I told him I sent him a copy of your paper. It's your signature. It isn't mine. It isn't the guy back there's signature. Or the chick next door's, your signature. See, all this time, we've been fighting to keep Boyd Street down with all the traffic because of IA, and you know that the planning department, you know as well as I do, that you just don't build onto a school and you don't add more to it. You negligently, and I honestly believe there's somebody, I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything, but you can't tell me that you would build a school that would try to accommodate cars like that going down the street like that. But that's not all that I'm saying is that none of these people, it doesn't even have Mr. Fleming's name on there. It says city council. If this is city council action, how come nobody's signatures are on here? It's everybody but. And on the second page it has you, besides Bill Hutari, and that's it. Or Hootery, whatever his name is. That's it. That's Mr. Higgins from the State Board of Education in Lansing said so. He said, it's at your level. So now, since it's at your level, we'd like to have a sign put up on Rochester Road, or not Rochester Road, on John R., going to Daly, no right turn. Just like you did with all the stop signs down our street. So that way, between 7:45, as you wrote here, you paid some, I don't know why you would pay somebody some kind of ridiculous amount of money for fabricating a paper. Anyways, the same thing would be applying would be 7:15 to 8:15, and it'd be 2 p.m. to 2:45. Same stipulations. No right turn from that time off of Rochester Road going to Daly. None. That would eliminate. Now we're at our level. We're not at no school level anymore. We're at our level. We're at the Troy Police level, our level. Mr. Fleming's level, McGinnis, we're at this level. School has nothing to do with this now. Now it's up to us to take hold of this and to do it that way. It will eliminate all the traffic. I should have thought about this before. It was my brother and I and a few other people had came up with the idea that why don't we just do what you did here? We will eliminate right turns coming off of 16. That's fair. That's not a good idea. No traffic, no nothing. You'll have to go to the light, and you'll have to use the route that you're supposed to use. That's an easy fix. It's so easy to fix, I would almost want to, I don't know, I could say it'd be one of the best things that you could probably do. You wouldn't even have to do anything. Put a sign up. That way no more traffic comes through there. They have to use the main road.
Thank you, Mr. Walters.
I wonder how far that got.
Linda Klima. Good evening.
Okay, first of all, I want to say how disappointed I am on the reappointment of the person to the Zoning Board of Appeals. What message does that send to our children? That you don't have to be qualified to do something? Just elect your buddies and the good old boys will get you a spot. And people are entitled to their opinions, but opinions are not facts. People, do your research. Repeating misinformation, no matter how many times you do so, does not make it so. Again, do your research. This recall is not a diversion. It's all parties coming together to do what's right. We actually collected more signatures than you got votes in the election. We want a first-class city with a mayor who has knowledge, integrity, and professionalism. In the private sector, Ms. Daniels, you would have been fired. It's obvious you're in damage control mode. You've made many statements in the media which are false, a couple of which are the budget and all the detailed contracts are online. Well, that was in process before you were elected. The library is open Saturdays. You campaign to have it open 7 days, and what you neglect to tell people is, yes, it's open Saturdays, it's closed on Friday, and it costs more to be open on Saturday. You also stated on the radio something to the effect of not wanting the controversy that has fallen upon you. What about what's fallen on our city? And before people start complaining about how your statements got out, you say it, you own it. You also said you're dedicated to your principles and not concerned with the landscape. Weren't you elected to serve the landscape, the city of Troy? Your statement that you made originally in the fall, we can say that's in the past. However, your recent statements are doing more harm. You just don't know when to stop. You also approached me when I was collecting signatures and asked me if I had no shame. You said on the radio, I like all people. I want people to get to know me. Okay, so I'm asking, do some soul searching. Avoid further embarrassment to our city and yourself. Save yourself some money and spare the city more shame. Yes, Mayor, you've shamed the city. You need to resign.
Thank you. Paul Smith. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mayor Daniels. I'm pleased to be a guest here. I guess.
Excuse me, could I introduce you? He's a council member from Sterling Heights, Councilman Smith.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to compliment you on this really great council chamber. I know you got a higher ceiling than us, and you're spread out more for my fellow council members can get their hands on my throat if they want to, and I'd really like to have this. It's nicer than Utica Community Schools, too. Just going one off the subject remark that came up, I noticed people were still talking about the drug K2. And a couple weeks ago, we almost put through a resolution to try to come up with a city ordinance against it, but the day before our meeting, County Executive Hackle and Sheriff Wickersham put through a Macomb County ordinance and went out and cleaned out a shop immediately after the passage. So Macomb's got that covered, and I expect Oakland will soon also. As far as this recall and kind of petitions in general, from what I've looked at in the numbers, this election was, 7,700 to 7,000, and they need 8,000 signatures, 8,000 valid registered voter signatures. That seems like a near impossibility to me. Do you know when the signatures are supposed to be validated? How long they have? No, it seemed like in city petitioning for city council, we needed 850 signatures, and it was next to impossible. And in fact, 4 candidates couldn't even get the 850, and that's in a city that's got 30% more voters than Troy. So how they could get that many valid signatures is almost impossible. It must be. It just implies it must be a lot of outside money and outside workers. We have petition circulators around with various issues and ballot initiatives, and I'm always really discouraged when I see these people that come up to me and say, well, we want to sign a petition, and I go, well, what's it about? And they really don't know, but they're getting 50 cents or $1 a signature, and they need the money, so please sign it. So I assume your local clerk will probably weed out quite a few on that basis. I understand that my wife and your good friend Moira Smith was with you when you really at the last minute decided to campaign for mayor with hardly any time and hardly any money compared to the people on the ballot now, these judges and county officials that in just a primary have huge billboards with their pictures on them, and you were able to win the election with almost no campaigning at all. So it seems like this, the outcome of this, it really isn't in that much danger. I really feel that the election is for the term of office, and once done, it's just like a judge's verdict in court. Either the defendant's guilty or not, and that's pretty much the end of it. That to reopen this essentially without cause, I think is it's really out of line, and I certainly hope that the people that supported you before will support you, and those that just support the principle that an election's an election and it's a done deal will also support that principle, even if they would have liked the opposite outcome. So congratulations on your election again, and keep up the good work, Mayor Daniels.
Thank you. Jonathan Witz. Good evening.
Good evening. City Commissioners, good evening. I'm glad to get here right in time to hear those last remarks, and I'm going to respond to those in a second. I just want to congratulate all the volunteers and the people that work so hard on the recall effort. I was in the field, and I didn't have to pull out 50 cents or $50 to get a signature. They all came. All of mine were perfectly, good and validated, and they'll be fine with no resistance. What was interesting is the people that resisted were people that said, "Oh yeah, she's right about the gay issue." So you got some good, strong, people in your corner that, share your views on that. I think the people who were behind the recall effort did a yeoman's job, and I do think there was cause. I think the comments, I'm going to respond again to the last gentleman who said you didn't have a big advertising campaign, and that probably had a lot to do with you winning, because if people knew what your views were, there might have been a problem with the election. It was so close, yet the recall signatures gathered more signatures than you had votes, and I think that's will hopefully say something in the coming vote. So I just wanted to say from my perspective, I carry no extreme. I'm not grossly to the left or the right. I vote in both ways in elections in the past, as I've stated here to this body. I'm for folks that can get together and find some common ground. I'm just not for extreme views, only for the fact is that you have half the people that disagree with each other in this town, and we need folks who can come together. I mean, we need some common ground. The extreme will not work. And it was said to me by someone you spoke to, and I'll admit totally that this is hearsay, but it was said to me that you spoke to that you plan on standing up completely for the people that voted for you. And I want to say that the people that that voted for you, some of those people have extreme views on taxes and other things, and there are a lot of people that disagree with them. So, the common sense of what I want to say to you in the next 6 months and say to this board is to find common ground, I think that's really what we need. That's what the people I've spoke to don't feel that's going on, and the views that you've expressed, have offended enough people, on social views as well as business views, that there was such a movement, and that should at least send a message to you. I don't want to come at you in some extreme shaming way. It's not about that. I'm just asking if you can hear the message loud and clear, because you have some good common sense people to your right and your left that have different opinions, and we've got to find the center both nationally and locally, because the ends aren't going to have anybody going forward. And and I hope whether my views are a little one way or the other, I don't think people in this town have a comfort level that you can find common ground, or that you do represent all people. And that's certainly why I joined the effort, not because I agree with the last speaker who said, I do think you need to respect an election unless there's some really drastic reason, and I think that the first 9 months of term has provided that, and 9,000 people agreed with me, on that, on that situation. So, I don't think I have much, too much to say. But again, I'd like to think that I represent, at least the majority of people that I talk to. We don't come from, far left, far right. We come from common center, and it's just a missing party and a missing voice out there. And I hope someone is there, that stands up for the fact that, if one councilman, feels one way and another one feels the other way, that you guys can, not stand by your ground so much. That's not governing. Governing is taking the people together and knowing that you have a city that is divided, just like the country's divided. You want a close election. The next election on the recall, I presume, will be close. And with plus, I think it's my special needs son back there. But I just want to make that statement. And again, the other reason I wanted to come up tonight, because I know there's been a lot of supporters here, is I just really thank and applaud the people that walk the streets, for the recall effort.
Thank you very
good work.
much.
You're welcome.
That concludes the persons who have signed up. If there's anyone else who would like to speak for a moment, if you'll please come and stand in the aisleway. If you want to speak, please come and stand in the aisleway. I'm only going to ask once, and then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Good evening. This is Jenny Simone.
Hi, I just wanted to address the council and my dear friend Janice. I met Janice in 2009. She's become a very dear friend of mine, and she's one of the most kind, caring, and compassionate people that I've ever met. She's also one of the hardest working people that I've ever met. She truly loves all people and is working hard to make the city of Troy the best place to live for all people. And just because she believes in the Judeo-Christian worldview of marriage does not mean that she does not honor and respect people with a differing viewpoint. Janice treats all people with respect and dignity. She's a wonderful, warm, and wise woman with knowledge and integrity and honesty. And I'm very proud to call her my friend, and I support Janice, and I thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Michael Ross? Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Mayor Daniels, and each member of the City Council for your service to our city. You guys are on the firing line, and you've got really tough decisions, and I can't imagine what that's like to have to be facing the things that you guys are facing all the time. And the presence of mind and the clarity that you all have to stay in the moment and see the issues through and make the right decisions for all of us, however you make them. So I recognize you got a tough job. It looks like the initial data coming in about how Troy is doing since the November election looks pretty decent. And so that's something we can all celebrate, that our city is seeing some light coming up. And I wanted to mention that maybe that's something we can celebrate about, because we're all feeling fired up about different things. You've seen me here before, and you know that the issue I like to talk about most has to do with marriage and family, because I think that's where the rubber hits the road. That's why we're all here. That's what we're all in for. We're in for our spouses and for our children. And you know that I'm an emergency physician and been practicing over 30 years in our emergency departments. And I'm in the belly of the beast. So I see the disorder that we have in our communities very up close. I'm pressing the flesh, and I'm seeing how our children are suffering. I've practiced in Detroit and in Pontiac and in another area, ERs, and it's not looking very pretty, and I think it's time that we do something. Now, members of the clergy here in our area have gotten together and conferenced about this particular issue and asked, well, what is it that they can do? And what they've done is they've organized a meeting across religions, across denominations. It doesn't matter whether they're Jewish or they're Muslim or they're Christian of any type. They're saying that, you know, this is something we should take on. And their focus is community marriage policy. And they've organized a meeting for members of the clergy on July 20th. That's Friday, July 20th, between 10 o'clock in the morning and and 12 noon. And they're going to bring in a speaker who's got some authority from Washington, D.C. to talk about this particular topic, because other embattled communities have looked at this issue. For one, back in the mid-90s, our very own Grand Rapids looked at the issue of marriage before they started putting their city back together. The city of El Paso and Austin, Texas, and Modesto, California, and Kansas City, Kansas. So other cities have done this type of initiative before. So what the pastors have done is they're asking in an authority, and they're gathering together and they're saying, what can we do about this pandemic of broken marriage and broken families and all the suffering that the children are doing? So what I'd like to ask of you, Mayor Daniels, is would you attend this meeting? Number one, would you invite the mayor of Pontiac and the mayor of Rochester? Because from what I'm hearing from the clergy, the focus is going to be on Troy, Rochester, and Pontiac, and then see if anybody else gets inspired by what they're doing to emulate what they're doing. And they're going to talk about forming a community marriage policy and no mixing of religious dogma, but what can each house of worship do within their congregation to bring some healing to the community, to bring some sensibility. So I'd like to ask you to invite the other mayors, and I'd like you to ask members of the clergy here in Troy if they would come to that meeting. And I don't care whether they're Jewish or they're Islamic or they're Christian, it doesn't matter, Hindu, all of them. We want everybody at the table. What can we do to make our community a little bit better? I can send you the coordinates on the meeting and where it is and all of that, but I'd like you to think about that and offering some leadership, to make those invitations, because I'm just one guy and I can only do so much. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Mr. Gary Glenn, a candidate for the Senate.
But I'm not here, Madam Mayor, in that capacity tonight, but I am pleased to be here and take a few minutes. I'm here as president of the American Family Association of Michigan, which is a Christian advocacy group that promotes traditional family values. I'm one of two co-authors of the Marriage Protection Amendment that was passed by nearly 60% of Michigan voters, including a majority here in the city of Troy. I'm here, Madam Mayor, I want to thank you for, number one, telling the truth about some issues for which you've been criticized. I give a hearty amen to the lady who just said that just because you believe in the Judeo-Christian definition of marriage, you should not be vilified for exercising your First Amendment free speech right to say so. And I know this has been a topic of discussion. I'd like to thank you for telling the truth about the personal and public health hazards associated with sexual activity outside of marriage, and for not retreating, retracting, or apologizing for telling the truth in the face of bullying by those with a political agenda. If we truly care about the well-being and have compassion for our fellow men and women, we tell the truth. We don't hide the truth. It's notable who agrees with you on the facts. Between the Lines, a homosexual advocacy newspaper in Detroit, reported comments by Matt Foreman, then executive director of the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force, who in a 2008 speech in Detroit referred to HIV/AIDS as, quote, a gay disease, unquote. And then Between the Lines, a homosexual advocacy newspaper, reported statistics support Foreman's assertion, with nearly 70% of cases in Michigan found in the men who have relations with men category. The Canadian Rainbow Health Coalition, a Toronto-based homosexual advocacy group, concurred in an official statement to the Canadian government in late 2010, quote, it is clear that HIV/AIDS infection rate in the gay, lesbian, bisexual community is significantly higher than the general population, and they estimate it would be anywhere from 9 to 26 times higher. CNN, cable news network, reported last year that homosexual men in California, quote, are nearly twice as likely to report a cancer diagnosis as straight men in the state, according to a new research study published online Monday in the medical journal Cancer. The Canadian Rainbow Health Coalition again concurred gay men, lesbians, and bisexual men and women are at higher risk for some cancers as a result of their sexual activity. And sadly, the end result of this severely elevated HIV/AIDS and cancer risk is predictable. Oxford University's International Journal of Epidemiology published a study in 1997 which reported, quote, life expectancy at age 20 years for gay and bisexual men is 8 to 20 years less than for all men, unquote. And this finding was repeated in 2000 by the Canadian Medical Association Journal. And again, the Canadian Rainbow Health Coalition concurred in 2010, saying, quote, "What research exists consistently indicates that the life expectancy of gay, lesbian, bisexual people is substantially lower than that of the general population. It's been estimated to be a life expectancy 20 years less than the average man has in Canada." And while health indicators suggest it is not as low for lesbians as for gay men, it is still lower than the life expectancy of the general population. 20 years. I understand, Mayor Daniels, that you've been recently criticized for saying publicly that engaging in homosexual behavior like smoking poses a threat to health. And in fact, that's true. But smoking and homosexual behavior are not, in fact, comparable threats to health in years of life. According to science, homosexual behavior poses a greater health risk than smoking. According to the New England Journal of Medicine, smoking tobacco will result in a premature death by an average of 7 years. The Oxford University published study, plus the 2010 statement by the Canadian Rainbow Health Coalition, a homosexual advocacy group, point to findings that life expectancy for men who engage in that activity is 20 years less. 20 years due to homosexual behavior, 7 due to smoking. Simple math indicates that homosexual behavior puts men at risk of losing up to 3 times as many years of their lives compared to risk of loss of life due to smoking. Homosexual behavior is also like smoking in this respect. It has second-hand effects, particularly on children raised in households headed by individuals who engage in that behavior. A study released 1 week ago by the University of Texas, "How Different Are the Adult Children of Parents Who Have Same-Sex Relationships?" by Mark Regnerus, Department of Sociology and Population Research Center, University of Texas. 3,000 young adults studied found dramatically higher incidence of poor impulse control, depression, thoughts of suicide, mental health therapy, identifying themselves as homosexual, cohabiting, being unfaithful to partners, contracting sexually transmitted diseases, being sexually molested, etc. And his conclusion was that the study, quote, "clearly reveals that children most apt to succeed well as adults are those who, when they spend their entire childhood with their married mother and father."
The time is up.
So,
thank you so much.
Madam Mayor and City Council, he goes on to say that we will have to pay higher taxes for law enforcement if we don't continue to promote marriage. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. That concludes Toby Coslin. I indicated that I would like everyone to come and stand in the hallway if they wanted to speak. By all means, come and speak. Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Toby Goslin, Gosselin. I'm not related to Robert Goslin. I've heard that name a lot as I was working the hard work out on the roads and streets here in the city of Troy. I must tell you, I must be a gracious ambassador. I got to meet a lot of people. I found out I had skill I didn't know I had. I was not paid to do this, so I must be a bargain. People were lining up on the sidewalk to sign my petitions. I had to call for help because I couldn't keep up with them. So yes, I'm really proud to be part of this collaborative effort. It was a very humbling experience. I wasn't prepared to come up and talk tonight, but here I am talking to you. It's very exciting. The city is alive and well. We're moving forward. Residents are paying attention. It was reported we had 9,300 valid signatures from our group that was editing and watching very closely. We're waiting for Pontiac to validate that. Oakland County, I'm sorry, to validate that. I think the signatures were even larger in numbers than what's been reported. Just so that you know, we have a very positive, vibrant city. Yes, the building permits are up. Sales are up. It has nothing to do with you, Ms. Daniels. I wished I could say it does, but it doesn't. We have positive energy. We have tolerance. We have grace. We have dignity. Mismanagement will not be tolerated. Poor performance will not be tolerated. Bigotry will not be tolerated. Bullying will not be tolerated. That politician, I don't know his name, but I'd like to replay this because it just gives me the chills. I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to talk about homosexuality, heterosexuality. You guys lost me a long time ago. We are here to govern the city of Troy. I heard somebody mention about Wisconsin and Scott Walker. Wisconsin does not allow for recalls, guys. You had 2 candidates running in Wisconsin, 2 candidates running for governor. The incumbent won with a flood of Tea Party money. It was not a recall in Wisconsin. Ms. Daniels, council, city residents, media covered it really well. It was not a recall. Kudos to the registered voters. Collaborative effort. Strangers that didn't know each other came together, formed a petition, started it. Hard work, serious matter. The voters will vote first on the recall. On the back side of that ballot at the bottom will be the recall. Vote first on the recall, flip it over, and then go back and do the presidential issues. The media covered it on channels 2, 4, and 7, the radio and the press. Ms. Daniels, you spoke about lifestyle being dangerous. The only thing that's dangerous is you right now. We need to pull you back and put you in the center if we can. But we're beyond that. We're moving fast and furious. Things are good. We're moving forward. I must be a gracious ambassador. I'm explaining it in a very elementary way, and they're lining up. It's up to the residents in November to vote. It's not my opinion. It's not your opinion. It's not that last man that just spoke. It's not Sterling Heights. It's the city of Troy. You need to stand up. You need to show up. You need to vote your voice. Zero tolerance will not be tolerated, period. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Mr. Watts? Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Thank you for all your work, hard work, I know many times, and your efforts. It's a great time to be alive, great time to live in Troy. I've been noticing a lot of very positive things happening. Granite City Food and Brewery, now open in Troy. Lafitte, now open in Troy. Huntington Bank just had their 2nd annual Lemonade Day for training young entrepreneurs. It was bigger and better than the first one. There's a new Thai restaurant, Sala Thai. There's beautiful beginning birth services opened recently. Tabbouleh, Fresh Mediterranean Eats, newly opened. Old Dominion is coming to town. Refurbishing and reviving a dilapidated site for their trucking freight industry, bringing along 96 jobs at the same time. Other companies are hiring. It's great to live in Troy. Troy Beaumont was named one of the nation's 100 top hospitals. Super. Building permits are up over 670%, as reported by Councilman Fleming at last meeting. Thank you for bringing that forward, Councilman Fleming. And people are bidding up on the asking prices for homes that are for sale. And I recently had a conversation with you, Councilman Henderson, and you told me that you lost out on a deal because it was bidded up. And houses being listed are selling within 1 day of their being listed. And yes, you can't take credit for that, Mayor Daniels, but it flies in the face who say that people do not want to move to Troy. Troy businesses are not hiring, and by the way, the businesses at the malls are doing very well as well. So I don't understand the other comments. Also, you stepped up to lead in the Saturday reopening of our Troy Library. Thank you. Even though it costs a little more, it's worth it because it makes it more available to our citizens. You also led in getting our city's check register online. Yes, it had been talked about, but you led the charge to actually get it done. Thank you for that. And as a result of being able to see those things online, we are beginning to realize that the fund balance will gain more this year than in any other previous year in Troy's history. That's the way it appears. I checked with some things about your office hours, Mayor Daniels. There have been people who have come about their sidewalks, about brush needing to be trimmed in their neighborhoods, along the right-of-way, standing water in backyards, students reaching out to the need for quality homes in Haiti. and much more. As I said, property values are up. And I didn't come here to speak tonight. I've been kind of writing this out as things went along. But I do want to respond to something else that was said earlier. You have worked in the private sector for 20 years in a corporation. Your boss commends you. I checked. And he has given you promotions, and you deserve a raise. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. No, please, no clapping. Mr. Chiricero? Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Late last July, there were two candidates for the mayor of Troy. Mary Kerwin and Robin Beltramini were members of this council, both of whom were members of the same political spectrum. When the mayor, Janice Daniels, decided to enter the race, Ms. Kerwin decided to back out. She did not want to split the vote. They were in for a big surprise as the mayor worked hard, going door to door, knocking on doors and meeting the public. She earned her victory. Seeing that they lost, and led by people in the newspaper, Matt Benkowski, John Coolies, Ron Butterball, and Toby Goslin, and two former mayors, this group of caring and tolerant people decided to look into our new mayor's background to see what dirt they could dig up on her. Eureka! Somebody went into her Facebook account and discovered she had used the word queer. They then decided to go to the media and to broadcast this information across the internet, creating a desired loud protest from the LGBT groups in the area, most of whom who do not live in Troy. Fortunately, we have a mayor of tolerance who sat quietly as she was vilified for in excess of 4 hours. They then started to blame this mayor for having this city become a laughingstock when it was they who broadcast across the nation with the help of the local media and the internet. Council meeting after council meeting, these same caring and tolerant people come into the chamber to castigate this mayor, as they've done tonight, berating her again and again and demanding that she quit. These bullies are the same people who are disturbed that there's bullying in the schools. They don't realize that it's they who are setting the example for the children who do the bullying. There are some people who came into the City Hall chamber to support a transit center, which is an obvious boondoggle. To get the transit center approved, they discussed the new business coming to Troy and how the city would benefit by it. But with the current condition of the city being put forward in the latest city budget, the outgoing city manager stated that the city would go into default sometime during 2017. He based that on the projection that the business tax base would not recover until 2034. I'd like to know which it is. Either the new transit center will benefit Troy, or it won't. Somebody is lying. Some of them come into the chamber and talk about the fine city we have. They're right about that. This is a great city. They brag about the low tax rate we have, and one person who is imitating Warren Buffett even states we're not paying enough taxes. I don't know where he's been, but he obviously has not talked to the people in Troy who have lost their homes. We're in a serious recession brought about by a similar tax and spending group in Washington, and he obviously does not understand this. This is the same person who does not understand that the tax for your property is calculated by multiplying the tax rate, which is no longer the lowest in the area, it's probably second or third, by the state equalized value, or SEV, of your home. Currently, total SEV for Troy is either second or third highest of all the cities in the state, depending on which rating system you source. Of course, our tax rate is low. It better be. If this gentleman is undertaxed, I suggest that he can write a check for $40,000 or $50,000 to be put into the city coffers on his own. I'm sure he can afford it. Stand fast, Madam Mayor. I realize they're going to try to recall you in November. Just remember, we are the people who elected you. We will go out into the streets in support of you. When the results come back in November and you are still here, it will be interesting to see how many of these malcontents will continue to berate, harass, and bully you. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comments. I wonder if the council would like to take a short break at this time? It looks like we would. I'm going to call recess. We'll return in about 5 minutes' time. Thank you.